My girlfriend broke into my room, crying and asked, "What did you do to my pills?" What? I quit my Clash Royale game and stood up confused. She immediately started tearing through my stuff. First my desk drawers where she threw my notebooks and pens everywhere. Then she moved to my dresser and started pulling out clothes and tossing them on the floor. Her hands were shaking as she searched through everything like her life depended on it. I watched her dump out my backpack next. All my textbooks and laptop chargers scattered across the floor. She even checked inside my shoes, which made no sense at all. My roommate Mike walked in from the hallway and stopped dead when he saw Cheyenne destroying our room. "Dude, what's happening?" Mike looked between us nervously. Cheyenne spun around to face him with wild eyes. She asked if he'd seen me take anything from her room. Mike shook his head and quickly backed out, saying he'd give us space. Smart guy knew when to make himself scarce. "Cheyenne, what pills are you talking about?" I tried to grab her shoulders gently. She pushed me away and went for my closet next. Started pulling boxes off the top shelf and checking inside each one. Even opened my old shoe boxes full of baseball cards from when I was a kid. Whatever she was looking for had her completely desperate. That's when she pulled out her phone and showed me a text from her roommate Carla. It said Carla had seen someone who looked like me in their room earlier that day. There was even a blurry photo attached showing a guy in a black hoodie going through Cheyenne's nightstand drawer. The person in the photo did look like me from behind. Same height and build. Same black North Face hoodie I always wore. But I'd been in the library all afternoon working on my economics paper. I even had the timestamps on my laptop to prove it. That's not me. I swear I haven't been in your room today. I showed her my laptop history. Cheyenne wasn't listening though. She collapsed on my bed and put her face in her hands. Started talking about how she needed those pills and couldn't function without them. How everything would fall apart if she didn't have them by tomorrow. Her breathing was getting faster and more panicked. I sat next to her trying to understand. In all our months together, I'd never seen her take any medication. Never noticed pill bottles in her room. Never heard her mention any health issues. But now she was acting like these mysterious pills were life or death. "We can go to the health center. Get you whatever prescription you need." I rubbed her back gently. She shook her head frantically. Said it was too complicated to explain. That normal doctors wouldn't understand. That she'd tried the traditional route before, but it didn't work. Nothing about this was making sense, but Cheyenne was getting more agitated by the minute. Then she mentioned something that made my stomach drop. Her ex-boyfriend Jeremiah had texted her last week asking about her new relationship, making comments about how I better treat her right. She'd ignored it, but now she wondered if he was involved somehow. I pulled up Jeremiah's Instagram and felt a chill run down my spine. His most recent photo showed he dyed his hair dark brown just like mine, was wearing similar clothes in every picture. There was even a photo of him standing outside our dorm building with the caption, "Visiting old friends." Cheyenne called Jeremiah, but he didn't answer. She texted asking if he knew anything about her missing pills. Within seconds, he replied with just 3 words that confirmed our worst fears. "Check your email." Cheyenne's hands trembled as she opened her laptop. There was a new message with no subject line, just a photo attachment showing a small, unmarked pill bottle sitting on what was clearly Jeremiah's desk. Next to it was a printed photo of me and Cheyenne from her Instagram. The message below was simple. He wanted to meet with Cheyenne tonight, alone, at his off-campus apartment. If she brought anyone or called the police, he'd flush the pills. But if she came by herself, he'd return them and never bother her again. He just needed closure. You can't seriously be considering this. I stood up pacing, but Cheyenne was already grabbing her jacket. She explained she had no choice, that without those pills she'd end up in the hospital by tomorrow night, that her parents would find out things she'd kept hidden, that her scholarship would be at risk. Everything in her life would unravel. I tried to stop her, but she was determined, promised she'd be careful, said Jeremiah was manipulative but not dangerous, that he was just a lonely guy who couldn't let go. She kissed me quickly and left before I could convince her otherwise. That was 3 hours ago. Now I was sitting in my destroyed room staring at my phone. Cheyenne wasn't answering calls or texts. Her location sharing was turned off. Carla hadn't seen her come back. I'd driven by Jeremiah's apartment twice but couldn't see anything through the windows. Finally my phone buzzed. A text from Cheyenne's number, but it didn't sound like her. Too formal and cold. Said she was fine and had decided to give Jeremiah another chance. Told me not to contact either of them again. My hands started shaking as I read it over and over. Then another text came through. "Cheyenne doesn't take pills, she's trying to trap you." Full story on channel link below.